Welcome back to Reviews and Rankings with Robby, and today we take a look at the 2021 film, The Forever Purge. The Forever Purge is a 2021 film directed by Everardo Valerio Gaut and stars Ana de Ruggiero, Josh Lucas, Will Patton, and Tinachu Haruta. Alright guys, welcome back to the channel, and this weekend I had a chance to check out the brand new installment in the Purge franchise. Now, before I actually get into talking about the film itself, I kind of have to address the elephant in the room in regards to these movies. Now, the Purge franchise started back in 2013, and it was really just a home invasion film. The idea around it is that for a 12-hour period once a year, nearly all crime is legal. So this led to a wealthy family getting top-notch security to lock down their home and stay safe, but a bunch of vandals and criminals, would-be criminals, tries to break into their house and cause chaos. All we see in that film is what goes on pretty much in that house, and we're kind of left to fill in the blanks in regards to everything else outside of it. That changed starting with The Purge Anarchy in 2014, and to this day that is still the best film of the franchise in my opinion, and I think it's one that most in the horror community side with. Now, with each following installment, the idea of The Purge, which is really rooted in political and social commentary, these themes get pushed more and more with each film. Now, personally, I love social and political commentary in films. George Romero, I've talked about it a million times, is my favorite director, and a lot of times his films deal with these social and political issues, but the Purge franchise does so, it's really on the nose and it's really in your face. There's no way to kind of be subtle because the story itself deals with politics and government officials and whatnot. So there are people who just don't want to even see anything related to politics, so they're going to push back from these movies. Another thing you have to talk about is, there are going to be people who don't like the Purge films because it's just not for them. Maybe it's not their type of a story, they don't like the action side of it, and that's fine. There's many different subgenres within horror, and people are not always going to like every single type of film, so I get it. However, the people who really loathe these films, I'm talking about ones who feel the need to vocalize their anger and their hate, more often than not are doing so because when they watch these films, their personal political beliefs are getting offended. They're very sensitive, and anyone who questions or kind of pokes fun at, or maybe just kind of reveals what their personal beliefs are, they get very defensive. These films, it's not a secret, they come from the left side of the aisle. They talk about class and redistribution of wealth and how the wealthy are really kind of hoarding most of the money and pitting the middle and lower classes against each other. It touches on race, which we saw really in the first Purge, which was the prequel that came out in 2019. And in this film, The Forever Purge, it deals with immigration and assimilating into a country, and once again dealing with race and white supremacy. It's really kind of just jabbing at the modern Republican Party, kind of the Tea Party of the last 10 years, and in more recent times, Donald Trump and his kind of band of followers. If you're a hardcore Trumper, it's highly likely that you will not like this film. And you're not going to like this film because you think the acting is bad, or the directing, or the cinematography, or the story. It's because it's poking fun at political beliefs that you hold, and you feel attacked. So in return, you have to kind of clap back and, smear these movies. If you go on like IMDb and you look at the comments on many of these Purge movies, especially like the first Purge and here in the Forever Purge as well, they're voting them like 1 or 2 out of 10 stars and really just crapping on them in the comments. And it's not because of the quality of the film, it's just because they themselves are offended. But enough of that, let's go into the film itself. Now, this film is a direct sequel to The Purge Election Year, which is actually the third film in the franchise, but chronologically it's the fourth, with this being the fifth and final one. After the Purge election year, and we got a new president, and the Purge was disbanded, and there was no longer an annual Purge. However, after 8 years and 2 terms, that current party was voted out and voted back in with the new founding fathers, the ones who came up with the Purge concept in the first place. And now 10 months later, after their election, the Purge night is about to return. Knowing that, we have 2 immigrants from Mexico, Juan and Adele, who are fleeing a Mexican drug cartel, and they wind up in Texas, with Adele working at a local factory and Juan working on the Tucker family farm led by Dylan Tucker, who, as we see kind of early on, he has some problems with the fact that Juan is Mexican. Seems like there's definitely kind of this white supremacy underbelly there, but he doesn't want to totally give into it. His father tries his best to let Juan and the others know that they are welcome there. His father is played by Will Patton, who's always a good addition to any film. They all kind of hunker down together. They survive the 12-hour purge, and everything seems just fine. Unfortunately, after those 12 hours are up, there seems to be a growing number of individuals who are ignoring the rule of law and extending the purge to as long as they feel. Local workers on the Tucker farm try to fight back against the Tuckers because they believe that they've been mistreated. And the patriarch, the Will Patton character, the father here, the oldest man, he is killed by one of them. And it's a sad scene because he's really a sympathetic figure who went out of his way to ensure that Juan and the others are welcome. Now, it turns out that it's not just those individuals that were kind of on the farm and have flipped and gone rogue. This is a growing movement across the United States. All the big cities and many of the small cities from coast to coast are in chaos. And the military is being sent into many of these cities. And as they say, shit is hitting the fan. Juan and Adele linked together with Dylan and his wife and a few others as they kind of fight their way, hoping to get to the Mexican border, to announce that the Canadian border and the Mexican border for a short period of time will open up their borders for Americans looking for asylum to try to be saved from these rogue purgers. As we follow through the film, we get a lot of action. We get a lot of creative kills and some really cool masks. And that's what you want to see in these movies. You want to see action. Of course, the political and social commentary is definitely there within the story. You cannot ignore it. It's in your face. But it's not the only thing that's there. There are some sympathetic characters. There's characters where you're kind of questioning whether you want to cheer for them. And along the way, you get some good kills and non-stop intensity. And it leads to a satisfying conclusion. We're not going to spoil it. I highly recommend, doing that for yourself. But overall, The Purge, the Forever Purge, is another solid entry into the Purge franchise. Now, they say that this is going to be the final entry into the franchise, but who knows? Heading into this film, there was 4 different Purge movies, and with a combined budget of just over $50 million, they've netted in return over $450 million. And even with COVID kind of hampering some of the theaters around the country, this Forever Purge is expected to take the franchise over $500 million. It's incredibly profitable, and we've already heard from Jason Blum and a few others behind the scenes that they have additional ideas about future films if this does well. Over on the Rotten Tomatoes side, the critics are not a fan of this film. Right now, the Forever Purge has a 46% critic score, which is not that good at all. It's under 50%. And a lot of that, I really do believe that this comes from 2 major things. Number one, it's the heavy political and social context and subtext that's being put into the film. But it's also, even though I'm a fan of this film, it really is more of the same. And even if you put out a solid film, critics are going to look at it as being recycled and unoriginal, and they're going to reflect that in their critic scores. Over on the audience side, it's a little bit more favorable. The Forever Purge currently has a 78% audience score Fans of these movies are clearly loving it, and those are the ones that are going to the box office. They're the ones spending the money. And currently, right now, as we speak, it's July 4th. On a budget of $18 million, the Forever Purge has already brought back over $19 million. So that's a pretty good start to make back more of your budget within a couple of days of being out in the theater. So I expect that this franchise will continue at some point down the line, whether the haters like it or not. As far as myself goes, you know what? I was kind of pondering this because I saw this movie 2 days ago. Like I said, the original Purge, I thought it was just okay. Purge Anarchy is great. Purge Election Year is right there. The first Purge, the prequel, was a little step down, but I still had a lot of fun with it. And the Forever Purge, I love the idea that we're trying something a little bit new despite the themes being the same. Aesthetically, we are out of the big city, a big kind of like suburban city, like a New York City or whatnot, and we are in Texas. It's a lot more country. And most of these kills in the action, instead of coming at night like in previous films, they're coming during the day. So aesthetically, you're getting something that's a little bit different. It's a totally different vibe, and I appreciate that. It was a nice change of pace, and I think that worked for this film. The acting across the board was solid. The direction by Everardo Gout was very well done. The pacing moved along at a real brisk pace. There was never any downtime or any boring time for this movie, so it really felt like it was working well. For me, the Forever Purge comes recommended, and while it's not quite at the level of Anarchy and Election Year, it's still a really good film, and I left wanting more. So the Forever Purge is getting 4 out of 5 stars. Alright guys, did you check out the Purge franchise? Are you a fan? Are you a hater? Maybe you're kind of in the middle and it's not your thing? Let me know in the comments below. If you like this video, you can hit like. If you loved it, you can subscribe. And remember, you can check me out at Instagram and Twitter at RankingsRS. So thanks for checking out the channel and keep watching movies.